We ended last time with a discussion about the 4 types of formula. So just a little review, we have the molecular formula. Do not forget pag molecular formula, that's the summary of all the elements present in the compound. At the same time, the specific number of atoms. So parang summary lang pag molecular compound. So we will not really see the bondings between the atoms. Now, if you want to really see and locate the bonds and also the arrangement of atoms in our compounds, then we are going to use the so-called structural formula. The bonds are being represented by short lines. If we have multiple bonds, then we will also use 2 bonds for the double bond and three lines for the triple bonds. And then pag nagne-naming na and at the same time, pag gumagawa ako ng formula class, I always use the condensed formula. This will be easier for me kasi it will show me the arrangement of the atoms, at the same time the bonding, na hindi masyadong complicated compared to the structural formula. So we will group together the elements. Most of the time, it's based on the carbons and kung ano yung nakaband sa bawat carbon na elements, yun yung ating i-group together. That is for the condensed formula. And then we ended with the line formula, which is the simplest formula for our organic compounds, wherein we will just use lines, and sa end ng ating mga lines and between intersections, we assume that there is carbon there, and that carbon is being saturated also with hydrogen. So those are the 4 types of formula. So we will move on with the chemical bond. So do not forget, chemical bonds is the attraction between our atoms or our ions that enables the formation of our compound. So the chemical bond actually hold together our atoms para nga ma-form yung ating molecule. So we have types of bonds here. The first one is the single bond, in which there is also a single covalent bond between 2 electrons that are being shared together. Wait, let me process screen. So this one, again, we have here, itong nakapula is called covalent bond na single bond, and this one is formed when the atoms share 1 pair of electrons. So like this one, this carbon on the left will share 1 electron here, and this carbon on the right will also share 1 electron. So a total of 2 electrons class, or we just call it 1 pair of electron being shared. Kapag ganon, automatic single bond yung mabubuo. So remember that carbon has 4 valence electrons, and that it does not really transfer the electron, but instead nag-share siya. So if we have 2 carbons sharing 1 electron each, ayun, mabubuo yung ating covalent bond, which is a single bond. So we have here the methane. It is not ano lang for carbon to carbon bonding. Pwede din siyang carbon to other atoms, just like for the methane. We have here 4 single bonds in total, kasi we have here carbon to hydrogen, that's counted as 1. Isang carbon isang electron ang i-share ni carbon, mag-share din itong hydrogen ng isa. So pair of electron na yon, kaya merong single bond. That is also true for the other hydrogens ng ating methane. But kailan mabubuo yung ating double bond na tinatawag? Kapag we are going to share 2 pairs of electrons. So just like this one here, yung nakapula, that is represented also by 2 lines kapag double bonds. And again, 2 pairs of electrons yung ang ma-share to form the double bond. So just like this one, again, we have 4 electrons for carbon. And then, ang mangyayari, itong carbon on the left will share 2 electrons, while the carbon on the right will also share 2 electrons. That is why double bond will be formed. We can chemistry. So ganyan yung mangyayari. Now the remaining 2 electrons here can be bonded to other elements or atoms, and most of the time it will be hydrogen. Yun yung magiging explanation why double bond is also possible. So examples of compounds with double bonds are the ethylene. There is a double bond formed between 2 carbons. So we have here 2 pairs of electron being shared by the 2 carbons. And also we have here the acetone. This time naman it's not between 2 carbons but instead between a carbon and an oxygen. Pero 2 pairs pa rin of electrons are being shared. However, itong carbon to carbon bonding, single bond lang sila. Kasi, class take note, hindi pwede magsobra ng 4 ang bonding ng carbon, ha? Hanggang 4 lang talaga yan. So if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you have no room for another element pa na mag-bond kay carbon kasi ubos na lahat ang kanyang electron. So that is also true here for ethylene. 1, 2, and then 3, 4. So this one is good. While this carbon naman here is 1, 2, and then 3, and 4. So hanggang 4 lang talaga. Hindi pwede magsobra sa 4. And we cannot have a compound also if kulang, hindi siya aabot ng 4. Hindi magiging stable si carbon if kulang. So I hope that's clear. Now the last one for our covalent bond is the triple bond. So syempre we also have 3 pairs of electrons being shared here. So as you can see on the screen, you have their carbon to carbon bond, but it's a triple bond and that is represented by 3 lines, 3 short lines also. So kung 4 yung kaya ni carbon, kasi 4 yung kanyang valence electron, meron tayong sobrang isang electrons here, sobrang electron, and then that is pwede siya mag-bond with other elements. So let's have the illustration here for the electron dots. We have 2 carbons, we have 1 electron each na free, and then the rest will be shared, forming the triple bond. Okay, so ganun yung nangyayari. It's possible for carbon to have multiple bonds. Okay? Questions so far about our bondings? They are all covalent bonds. Covalent bonds are strong bonds. They are not easily destroyed, though they can be destroyed but not easily. And that will be the reason why in the laboratory, organic reactions between organic compounds are slower compared to the inorganic ones. So example of a compound with a triple bond is the ethine. You have there 2 carbons bonded together, and then we have here the 3 short lines. So triple bonds yan siya, which means 3 pairs of electrons also are being shared together. So the extra electron of the 2 carbons here will be bonded to hydrogen. Again, we call this ethine. Okay? Walay pangutana, kay magsugod na ta sa naming. So sa naming of the organic compounds, we call that nomenclature. We have the set of rules that we follow kasi that this one is unique and hindi siya kapareho class ni inorganic chemistry. So I believe we learned how to name the inorganic compounds during our prelim and our midterm. I hope hindi niyo pa yun nakalimutan. But we will have new sets of rules here for organic compound, a totally different set of rules na gagamitin natin, and this is being accepted worldwide. And actually, they made it easier for students and for scientists to remember the names and also para alam natin paano i-draw yung structure. So sino yung nag-set ng rules na ito? It was the IUPAC, or the International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. That's an organization and they are responsible for establishing and maintaining our system for the naming of organic compounds. However, hindi natin sila pang-isahan na discuss. Diba, remember, we have a lot of functional groups. So isa-isahin natin kasi magkaiba yung names nila, magkaiba yung set of rules ng pag-name. sa kanila. So mao na siya ang ginaingon nga among all the chemistries class, I actually don't like organic chemistry personally, but it's ironic that I'm teaching it now. I don't really like this because of the naming na part na not really not really easy for me. Pero let's try to learn this. I just need you to listen. We have the first one, alkane and cycloalkane. So, di ba remember last time I told you when you say alkane, it's a hydrocarbon. So, you will only see hydrogen and carbon here. Pero, the bonds between them are only single bonds. So, single bonds between carbon and another carbon and single bond between carbon and hydrogen. Now, we have the general formula na fina-follow to know the molecular formula of our alkanes. So we have here Cn, H2N. Gawin ko lang siyang H2N ha. Nahihirapan ako mag-pronounce ng HN2 plus 2. It's easier for me to say CnH2n plus 2. Okay? Now what is N? N is the number of carbon atoms in the molecule. So what do I mean by that? Pag sinabi ko sa inyo, class, what will be the molecular formula of an alkane with one carbon? Again, an alkane with one carbon, what will be its molecular formula? You will just follow this. So kung 1 lang ang kailangan ko, isa-substitute mo lang yan dyan, yung number of carbon. So 2 times 1 plus 2. So this will be C1. Pero remember, just like in organic chemistry, we don't really write 1 as a subscript if 1 lang talaga yung number of atom. As is na yan siya. And then, sa hydrogen naman, 2 times 1 is 2 plus 2, it's 4. So this will be the chemical formula or the molecular formula of a 1-carbon alkane, CH4. So how about pag dalawa? Ang question ko na naman sa inyo, what will be the molecular formula of the alkane with 2 carbons? Pag dalawa daw ang carbon niya, ano yung magiging chemical formula? So, ganun pa rin yung gagawin. N is 2, and then this is H. So, this is 2 times 1 plus 2. So, this is C2. This time, we will really write the subscript for a carbon. And for hydrogen, 2 times... sorry, anong 1 akong ibutang? This is 2. Ayan, 2 times 2 is 4 plus 2, it's 6. So this will now be the chemical formula of a 2-carbon alkane. Okay, so i-follow nyo lang yan na general formula and you can really predict the molecular formula of the alkane if alam nyo lang kung ilang carbons yung nasa compound na yan. Okay, so these are examples of alkane class. Kahit maraming carbon yan siya, as long as it's only between carbon and hydrogen and single bond lang tayo, alkane yang functional group nila. Okay, now in alkane class, we have also the so-called alkyl group. Sa alkyl group, this is actually an alkane with a reduction in the number of hydrogen. So for example, kanina, sinulat ko for 1 carbon alkane, the chemical formula should be CH4. Pag binawasan mo yan ng hydrogen, again, binawasan mo siya ng hydrogen kasi you will be substituting it with another atom. Again, binawasan natin ng hydrogen kasi the reason is magsa-substitute tayo with other atoms. It can be another carbon or again, another type of atom. Example, magiging CH3 na lang siya. And this CH3 will be bonded with another atom here. This CH3 is called an alkyl group. Again, this CH3 will be now called as the alkyl group. Now, last time I told you for alkane, the name should end with ane. So like for example, 1 carbon alkane is called the methane. So this one is a gas. Where can we see this? Actually, we can see methane in our septic tank. Our waste glass will, when that decompose, it will be turned into methane. So that is the reason why pag sinindihan mo yung septic tank, sasabog talaga yan. Kasi nga meron dyang methane gas. Pero methane is CH4. Paano kung binawasan mo siya? Kagaya ng mga illustrations on the screen, lahat sila naging CH3. Hindi na sila CH4. So this time, hindi na talaga siya alkane, but instead alkyl group. So alkyl group na siya. And yung names nila hindi na mag-e-end with ane instead with il. So instead of calling it methane, we will now call this CH3 as methyl. Okay? Methyl na siya tatawagin kapag kakulang na siya ng hydrogen. Whether isa or dalawa ang kulang, as long as it contains fewer hydrogen atom, we'll call it alkyl group. Their name ends with il. Questions about this? Kaya pa? I don't expect you to absorb everything, ha? So next week pa naman quiz. Ani? Now, this is it. You have to memorize this one, class. In naming organic compounds, we use the prefixes. Okay? We are going to use the prefixes based on the number of carbon atoms. So ganito, kapag nakakita kayo, class, ng organic compound na isang carbon lang talaga ang meron, ang kanyang name should start with meth. Okay? So again, all organic compounds that the name starts with meth means isang carbon lang ang meron siya sa kanyang molecular formula. Now, if two carbons, the name should start with F. Okay? And then for 3 carbons, the name should start with prop. Kaya kung nakikita nyo methane, ethane, propane, that is for alkane. Kasi alkane's name should end with ane. So isang carbon and it's an alkane, so we call it methane. Pag dalawang carbons pero single bond, so alkane siya, we call that ethane. And then propane. For 4 carbons, the prefix is but. So that's what we call the butane if it is an alkane kasi single bonds lang lahat. Yun yung ginagamit natin when we cook, the butane. Actually, most of them are gases and most of our alkanes with konti lang. Fewer number of carbons are gas and they are used as fuel. Okay? And then for 5 carbons, the prefix should be pent, so pentane. And then 6 is hex, 7 is hep, 8 is oct, so we call octane. And then 9 is non, and lastly we have 10 dec. Actually, we have also 11, the andec, and then for the 12, the dodec. Those are the prefixes we used in naming our organic compounds. Tell me ha if masyado akong mabilis, hindi niyo ako masundan. Okay? Wait lang ha. Let me just answer this one is urgent. Okay. Sige, let us continue. Now, these are the molecular formula. Kung titingnan ninyo, class, kung i-check ninyo, this molecular formula of all the alkanes follow the general formula CN H2N plus 2. Diba? Example, okay na tayo with the methane and the ethane. Kung C3 naman, so 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2, 8. That is why C3H8. Okay, i-check nyo. Lahat yan naka-follow with the general formula CnH2n plus 2. But if kunan natin yan ng kahit isang hydrogen lang, we will call it now not an alkane but an alkyl group. So as you can see, instead of CH4, naging CH3 siya. This one here, this short line here is an indication that it can be bonded to other atoms. Hindi na natin siya tatawaging methane. Papalitan natin ang ending with -il. So that is methyl. Okay? Sige, go. Yan na. So methyl. Now, how about ethyl? Instead of ethyl, C2H6 naging C2H5 na lang siya. Kaya ethyl na lang yung tawag sa kanya. So, di ba may naririnig kayo? Ethyl alcohol, methyl alcohol, isopropyl alcohol. Yan yung meaning niyan. It means that the compound has a fewer hydrogen compared to the alkane. So, instead of like ethane, we will just call it ethyl. Okay? That is true for the other types of alkane. Okay? Questions? Questions, everyone? Wala? Let us continue. Sige. Now, for our carbons, before we'll really move on to the naming of the organic compounds, class, let's discuss first the classification of carbons. Meron tayong tinatawag na primary carbon, secondary carbon, tertiary, and quaternary. And actually, this classification is dependent on the number of carbons that are also directly attached to the carbon in consideration. However, for methane, you can see it on the screen. The methane is actually unique. We cannot really classify it as either primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary kasi nga isang carbon lang siya. So walang ibang carbon na nakaband sa kanya. So 0 carbon attached. This one is a unique one. Pero pagdating sa ibang compounds class, doon na natin ma-observe itong primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. So in the case of this one, you have here 3 carbons. Itong nakapula is considered a primary carbon. Bakit siya primary carbon? Kasi this one is directly attached to 1 carbon only. Again, yung direct attachment to that carbon is 1 lang din. Isang carbon lang din. Actually, itong dito sa kabila, this CH3 here or this carbon here is also considered a primary carbon. Why? Kasi isa lang din naman yung attachment niya na carbon. Ito lang nasa gitna. Wala namang bonding between them. So dito lang talaga. So both of them are considered as primary carbons. Now, paano yung secondary carbon? Baliktad siya, class. Ito naman is, yung nasa gitna is considered a secondary carbon. Bakit? Kasi merong 2 carbons also that are directly attached to it. So we have one here and then another here. Itong 2 kanina sabi natin primary carbon, but in the center, we call it a secondary carbon. Okay? So nakadepende yan siya kung ilang carbon yung directly attached to the carbon in consideration. Ito namang tertiary carbon, let's look at this. We have 1, 2, and 3. Meron tayong 3 carbons directly attached to the center carbon or to the naka-color red na carbon dyan. So kapag kaganon, again, ang tawag natin tertiary carbon. So walang hindi counted dyan si hydrogen. We are just looking at the carbon directly attached to the carbon in consideration. And for quaternary carbon class, 4 din ng carbon yung naka-attach like this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this one at the center, this is called a quaternary carbon. Now the rest, primary carbon na lang yan sila. Okay? We call them primary carbon kasi isang attachment lang naman yan. Isang carbon lang din ang naka-attach sa kanila. Ang center lang yung tinatawag na quaternary carbon. Question? Any clarification before tayo mag-move on? Wala. So let us continue. We will be starting the naming. This time, the IUPAC naming for the alkane. So I'll be discussing here the set of rules. Ililist down natin yung rules na ipa-follow natin pag magne-name na tayo ng alkane. So gagamit tayo ng suffix para sa functional group. This time, since functional group natin alkane lang muna, single bond lang muna lahat. So ang suffix natin na gagamitin is the ane. Pero may prefix din tayo ha. The prefix yung sinabi ko kanina based on the number of carbon. Okay? And then in naming, i-identify natin ang parent chain and ang so-called substituent. So, okay. Wait lang ha. Let's see. Ayan. Sinabi ko na to kanina. Sa alkane class, they are saturated hydrocarbons. We call them saturated hydrocarbons because they are saturated with hydrogen, meaning marami silang hydrogen compared to other functional groups. So, we will follow the prefixes, naka-bold ang mga prefixes for naming, and since they are alkane, so their name will end with ane. But if we reduce the number of hydrogen, we will just change the name, the suffix into il. Okay? So, balikan ko ito later. Later ko na siya balikan ha. Unahin ko muna yung naming talaga. Kasi this one are just common branch or substituents na ginagamit for our alkane. So this is number 1. By the way, pag mag-discuss ako nito, actually magsistay lang talaga ako dito sa slides. Yung ibang kasi rules nasa ito yung mga ibang rules. Pero gagamitin ko yan later for other examples. Lahatin ko siya explain in just this example na ito. So we have here, incorrect and incorrect yan. No? Pero let me rewrite the given on the screen. Gusto ko kasing makita nyo rin kung ilang hydrogen ang nandyan. Hindi kasi nila kinomplete. Carbon lang nilagay. So we have here C. This one is the C. I'll write the hydrogen. So the hydrogen here is CH3. I'll make this a condensed formula. Why CH3? Bakit CH3? Kasi merong isang bonding dito. Nakaband siya kay carbon. So that's counted as 1. So ilan na lang natira? 3. Kaya CH3. 4 lang dapat ang lahat ng bonds ni carbon. So this one naman on the center, may carbon sa taas and may carbon dito sa right. So that is 1, 2, 3. Ang naiwan na lang na hydrogen, isa. That's how you make a condensed formula. You count the bonds. 3 na lahat. So isa na lang ang electrons ang free. Yun yung para kay hydrogen. So isang hydrogen na lang yung natira. Now, yung carbon na nasa taas, isang bonding lang ito. So, this one is CH3. So, 3 plus 1, 4 lahat. Now, itong carbon on the right is bonded to another carbon. So, 1, 2, meaning dalawang hydrogen yung natira dyan for the third carbon on the chain. That is also true for the next carbon. So tama na 1, 2. And then dito na tayo. You have a carbon here. And then sa taas merong another carbon. And then another carbon na naman. And then on the other side, we have another carbon. Pero ganito yung pag-count class. Yung direct lang na nakaband ha. So ito lang yung counted. 1, 2, and 3. Hindi kasali yung nasa pinakataas kasi hindi siya directly bonded to this carbon. So 3 na yan, kulang na lang ng isa. Okay? So yung nasa taas, itong carbon na ito, 1, 2, dalawang bonding. So this will become CH2. And lastly, isang bonding lang for the last carbon on top. So this one is CH3. Now, saan na tayo? This carbon. So this carbon, meron siyang another carbon sa baba and then another carbon on the right. So this is 1, 2, 3. Kulang na lang siya ng isa para maging stable. And this one carbon, meron pa siyang another carbon. So this one is CH2, 1, 2. So dalawang hydrogen na lang. And then yung last carbon will be CH3. Kasi isang bonding na lang din siya. Okay? Ay, nakalimutan natin yung carbon sa baba. Yung carbon sa baba, since isang bonding lang yan, this will be CH3. That's how you make a condensed formula, ha? That's how you make a condensed formula. You count the bonds na directly naka-attach to the carbon and then make sure na 4 lang talaga yung kaya niyang i-bond with other element. So, ang hydrogen niya, ima-minus mo lang. Ma-minus mo lang yung bonds na naka-directly attached. Okay? So, this will be now the formula ng nasa screen. We will be naming this. Again, we will be naming this one. So, what will be our steps in naming the organic compound? This is number 1. Identify the longest carbon chain. Because the longest carbon chain will be our so-called parent chain. And how do we identify that? We will be counting. So ito yun ha. Hindi ko muna papakialaman yung condensed formula dyan. Dito tayo magka-count. Ganito mag-count class. Longest carbon chain ha, hindi ka dapat maputol. Tuloy-tuloy, diretso-diretso na counting. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I go straight, I have 8 carbons. Okay? If I go straight, I have 8 carbons. Now let me try to liliko tayo papunta sa taas. Go on top. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 carbons here. Pag ang counting ko is not a straight chain, instead liliko tayo papunta sa taas. So even if liliko ka din papunta sa baba, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, you will still have 7 carbon here. So sabi ko, ang bibilangin yung diretso-diretso, hindi ka dapat maputol. So kung lumiko ka dyan class papunta sa baba, hindi ka na pwedeng, hindi mo na ito pwedeng balikan. Okay? Kasi mapuputol ka na. Ang sinasabing longest chain, dapat diretso-diretso yung counting mo. So among the different ways to count, syempre yung pinakamarami is this one. Kasi 8 carbon siya. So anong tawag natin sa kanya? Longest carbon chain or the so-called parent chain. So ito yung parent chain. Sa condensed formula natin, ito siya. The straight one. Ay, ako nun, hindi ka malumag. Straight of drawing. So that's the parent chain or the longest carbon chain. Ma'am, may instances po na mag-start sa right. Yes, you can also do that, Ira. If you want to start sa right side, like this one, this is 1, 2, 3. Siyempre, pag muliko ka, 4 lang na. Pero if we want to count pa, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6 carbons here. Pag dumiretso tayo, even magsa-start tayo sa right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is still 8 carbons here. Pag lumiko tayo pataas, this is just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And this is also 8 carbon. Okay? Pero yung pinaka mahaba natin na chain, definitely 8 carbon talaga. Kahit saan ka pa nag-start. Again, kahit saan ka pa nag-start, hanapin mo lang yung longest chain. So 8 carbon. Yun yung magiging parent chain natin. So sa pag-name class ng organic compounds, unang hanapin si parent chain, and yan yung una mong isusulat na name. Ano nga yung prefix for 8 carbon? Ano nga yung prefix natin for 8 carbon? Okay. Oct. And then, single band ba silang lahat?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, single band. So what will be the ending of the name pag single band lang? So this will be called octane. Okay? This will be called octane. Kaya lang, ganito. Let me delete all the other writings on the screen para dito na to siya usulat. Remember, this one is our longest chain here. This is the so-called octane. Now, hindi natin nasali sa counting ito. Tama? And then this one also. And this one also here sa baba. Hindi siya kasali sa counting. So, hindi sila kasali sa pangalan na octane. Okay? So, ang tawag natin dito again, parent chain. So, ano yung tawag natin sa hindi nasali sa counting? We will call them branch or branches kung marami. Or we can call it also as substituents. Okay? We can also call them substituents. Bakit? Kasi they are being used as a substitute for hydrogen. Kasi 'di ba dapat CH4. Pag binawasan mo siya ng isa, magiging CH3 na lang siya, and then this will be bonded to another element. So itong nangyari dito, magiging substituent siya ng isang hydrogen na tinanggal. Kaya again, tinatawag siyang substituent. Now, kasali pa yan siya sa naming class. Again, kasali ito sa naming. So the next step is to identify the substituent. Again, the first step is to identify the longest chain or the parent chain. The second step is to identify the substituent or the substituents pag marami sila. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 3 substituents here. And we will also give names to them. Okay? So the first one here, let's go back to the condensed formula. Let's identify them. Okay. Now, the first one here, we only have 1 carbon, pero CH3 siya, hindi siya CH4, kulang siya ng hydrogen. How do we name this? Ano nga yung prefix ng isang carbon?
Meth.
Meth. Okay. Now, what will be the ending? Kulang siya ng isang hydrogen. Dapat CH4, di ba?
Methyl.
Okay, the ending will be methyl. So, itong, ano na ito, substituent na ito, ang tawag sa kanya, methyl. Okay? Methyl ang tawag natin sa kanya. Actually, ito din. Kasi parehas lang naman silang CH3. So, we will also call this as methyl. Isang carbon, kulang ng hydrogen, it's methyl. Now this one, this is counted as one substituent ha. Hindi natin siya ipaghihiwalay. Counted yan sila as one kasi both, isang bonding lang sila kay carbon na nasa parent chain. So what is our prefix now for 2 carbons?
F.
Okay, F. And take note, for ethane, supposedly that will be C2H6, tama? But what happened here? C2H5, kulang ng hydrogen. So hindi mo din siya tatawagin na ethane. Instead, we will call this ethyl. Okay, ito yung tinatawag natin class na ethyl. Okay? So ayan, that's the step 2. We have identified now the branches or the substituent. Now what will be the step 3? The step 3 will be assigning numbers to our carbon or carbons in the parent chain. Again, the step 3 is to assign numbers for the carbons in our parent chain. But how do we do that? Are we going to start sa right or are we going to start sa left? Sa pag-number. Ipakita ko siya sa inyo. Wait, let me delete this. Balikan ko yan later ang aking condensed formula. Ganito. Di ba ito yung parent chain natin? Mag-assign tayo ng number starting from 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pero di ba kanina nag-ask si Ira, pwede ba daw mag-start sa right? Pwede po. Sige. We will write 1, 2, this is 3 here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Pero ang question, what will be the correct one? Correct one class sa pag-number is, hanapin nyo ano yung pinakamaliit na number na magkakaroon siya ng substituent. Yan yung correct na pag-assign ng number sa mga carbon. What do I mean by that? If I use the red one, kasi I'll start with this carbon here. At carbon number 2, I already have this substituent. Okay? But if I start sa right, itong black na sinulat ko, kailan pa ako magkakaroon ng substituent? At carbon number 3. Okay? So, ang inyong pipiliin class, the correct one is doon kayo magsa-start ng number sa merong pinakamaliit na number for the substituent. So, ang tama is, let's start on the right. Okay? No, this one is the left side. This one is the left side. So this will be our carbon number 1. So our final numbering, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Pero hindi yan siya always na dito ka magsa-start. Hahanapin mo muna saan yung pinakamaliit na number na magkakaroon ka ng substituent. So bakit tayo magna-number? Kasi kasama yan sa naming. Idudugtong natin yan doon sa pangalan ng substituent. Okay? Sige, now, pwede na natin siyang idugtong kasi we have identified step 4 class. Okay? Arrange the substituent in alphabetical order. Again, step 4, arrange the substituent in alphabetical order. Tatlo yung substituent natin, parehas yung dalawa, parehas silang methyl. The other one is ethyl. So kung alphabetical yan, mauuna sa alphabet si letter E kaysa sa kay M. So una mong isusulat class si ethyl. So idudugtong natin yan siya ngayon dito sa parent chain. Paano natin siya isusulat? Yung number of carbon muna kung saan siya naka-attach. Ethyl is attached at carbon number 5. So we will write this one as 5. And then, please take note, we will use dash. Okay? 5 and then ethyl. Okay? Yan yung pagkasulat niya. 5 ethyl. Tapos dash ka na naman and then the next substituent. So ano yung gagawin natin? Kapag ka isang methyl yan class, diretso ka na dyan sulat methyl and the number and then methyl. Pero pag dalawa siya, meron na naman tayong another rule. Dalawa or more than that ha. Meron na naman tayong rule and that's another set of prefixes na naman. But we will just use this for the substituents. Okay? Kung meron ka dyang dalawang magkapareho na substituent, we will use the prefix di. Okay? Siyempre kung tatlo, tri, kung apat, tetra, kung lima, you will still get back to penta, hexa, hepta, and so on. 6 is still hexa. 7 is hepta. 8 is still octa, and then 9 is still nona, and then 10 is deca. But for this case, we only have 2 methyl, so we will use di. Okay? Di. Anong gagawin natin sa kanya? Dimethyl. Meaning, merong dalawang methyl. Pero, ano natin siya idudugtong doon sa name? You have to first identify the number of carbon kung saan sila naka-attach. The other one is attached at carbon number 2. And then this time we will use comma to separate the numbers. And then the other methyl is attached on carbon number 6. Before mo isulat yung dash and itong dimethyl. So we will write here dimethyl. So tama lang akong space na gibutang kasi wala na siya space between methyl and octane. Hadugtong gyud na tanan ilang pangalan, walay space. Okay? So this is now the correct name for this compound. 5-ethyl 2,6-dimethyl octane. So that's the steps in naming. Questions? So, di ba sabi ko sa inyo, this is entirely different from the inorganic chemistry. So, mawag na siyang ginaingon nga mas dali gyud ang inorg kaysa sa org. Kaysa inorg kay diretso man nato siya ibutang kung unsa na atom, sodium, tapos ang iyahang partner. Let's just change the ending sa IDE. So kung Cl to, sodium chloride. Pag abot sa organic compounds, daghan kaayo taog steps. So let's have more examples para ma-practice ninyo siya. Pero for the meantime, questions first. Wala pa nag-sink in. Ako daghan kaayo nga.
Examples pa, ma'am.
wala pa nag-sink in. Sige, let's have more examples. Let me clear the writings on the screen. Let's have this one. Actually, this is step number 2 here, pero doon sa example kanina kasi, nilahat ko na lahat ng steps. So, ang gagawin na lang natin, example, itong mga nasa screen, magiging second and succeeding examples na lang natin. So, though nakalagay na sa screen yung pangalan niya, let's check bakit siya 4-ethyl 2-methyl hexane. So, ano nga yung first step natin? Look for the longest
line.
Okay, and that will be our parent chain. So, ano yung gagawin ninyo? You can start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 6 here. Ulitin natin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 6 carbons if we go straight. How about if we go up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it doesn't matter. It's still 6 carbons. Kung baliktad daw, dili ka mag-carbon number 1. 1, 2, syempre 6 gihapon na pag-abot din, no? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just 5 if I start here. But if I go straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then go up, that is still 6. So sa lahat na yan, class, 6 talaga yung longest chain. So 6. Wala na tayong magagawa dyan. 6 talaga yung longest chain natin. What will be our prefix for 6 carbons? That will be
X.
hex. And since single bond silang lahat,
Ane po.
so we will call this hexane. Pero para dili ta maglibog, class, kagaina nagliko-liko ta, 6 carbons lang man gihapon ang pinakataas. So kanina lang atong i-consider na longest chain kay 6 carbons man gihapon ni if we count this. So this is our longest chain here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the next step? Identify the
substituents.
Okay, very good. Identify the substituents or the branches. So, ang hindi nakasali sa counting natin for the parent chain are this one and this one. And then let's name them. What's the name of CH3?
Methyl, ma'am.
Methyl. Okay, do not forget ha, methyl. How about CH2, CH3? Dalawang carbon yan.
Ethyl, ma'am.
Okay, this is ethyl. Yan. Now, after identifying, let's assign the numbers. Let's try first having this as carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Saan yung first natin na substituent? Nasa carbon number 2. Pero pag i-reverse natin, this will be carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Where is the first substituent on carbon number 3? So, mas, ano ito? Mas maliit itong naka-blue. So, i-erase na natin yung isa. Kasi the blue one will be the correct assignment. Okay, that's how you know the correct assignment of the numbers for the carbons. Ayan. So, tapos na tayo with the assignment of the numbers. The next step will be arranging our substituents alphabetically. So, syempre, mauuna pa rin si ethyl. Okay, mauuna pa rin si ethyl. Dalawa lang naman yan sila. And ethyl is directly bonded to carbon number 4. So, we will call this 4-ethyl. Ayan. And then ano nga next? Dash pa rin. And then this is check already. We will go now to methyl, and methyl is bonded to carbon number 2. So we'll write 2 here. Siyempre hindi na tayo gagamit ng prefixes class kasi isa lang naman siya. So hindi na kailangan yung di, tri, and so on. So wala na ding comma dyan. Dash lang talaga yan siya lahat. So dash methyl. And then, take note na dapat wala na sila space in between. So, let me adjust the hexane. So, yes, tama yung pangalan na nasa screen. 4-ethyl, 2-methyl-hexane. So, that's how you name this organic compound. Question? Oras na. It's 11:36. Yes, I still have time. I'll give you an example na sa mga quiz po, given na ang condensed. Yeah, I'll give you the condensed formula. You give me the name. So let's have an example kung paano ko siya ibibigay sa quiz. Wait lang. Here are all the drawings. Actually, I need a blank. Na ano. Kasi magdodraw ako. I-apply nyo class yung rules kayo muna para makapag-practice tayo. I'll be giving you the condensed formula. Wait lang, kay mag-isip ko. Parang magpangita ang longest chain Okay. This one. Yan akong paghatag sa mga quizzes or sa exam. I'll give you this formula. Naka-condensed formula I'm actually a fan of the condensed formula. I don't like the structural formula. Libog kayo. So, yan eh. And then you give me the name. And then, sige, kayo muna later will check if you get the rules and you get the correct name for this. Sila hilig mag-answer. Ako ba na question mark and delay sure? Try lang. Sige, sige. It's okay. I'll still count that as participation though. Mamali man na or matama yung answer. Wala pa yung magkaparehong answer so far. Remember, everything starts with the longest chain. Pag maliin yung longest chain class, mali na tanan. Mananapay or napay maghabol. Napa. 2 minutes. Sige, 2 minutes. Para napay participation. Oh, i-upload na ko ni Dayon after na ko siya i-convert and i-upload sa YouTube. Let's see. Lana, sige, let's count. First step. Ay, napali. First step, let's count the longest chain. This is what I will do. I'll start first with the straight chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only have 5 carbons if I go straight. How about if liliko ako? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 carbons here. Paano kung pupunta ako sa taas? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is 5 carbons. Pero, ganito. Let me change my pen. If I start here, 1, kasi this is still a chain, right? Hindi ka pa rin naman mapuputol dito. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is 7 here. But if I go straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is still 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 carbons here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I have 8 carbons. What did I do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So among them, kinakadako din ha, 8 carbons, which means my parent chain will be octane. So palihog tanaw, kinsay nag-send din ha og octane? Ano ba nag-send og octane? Yeah, na nag-send og octane. So let me identify my parent chain. This will be class my parent chain. So ano yung hindi nasali sa aking parent chain? So ang parent chain ha, hindi lang siya straight chain. Pwede kang liko-liko basta hindi ka maputol. As in chain talaga siya. So again, alin dyan ang hindi nasali? This one here, and this one here. Okay? Sige. So let us name them. That will be the next step, right? Let me erase this things first. Go back. Wait. What's the next step? I'll be naming them. Okay. Sige. This one is a methyl here. And then 2 carbons. So I'll be naming this as ethyl. And then another 1 carbon here. So I have here the methyl. Next, assigning numbers. If I start here carbon number 1, 2, and 3, I'll have the substituent at carbon number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If I go reverse though, if magra-reverse ako ha, I want to have a new color. Naghag-arte. Dapat bagong color. This is carbon number 1, 2, 3. Parehas silang carbon number 3. Kung ganito, tingnan mo yung kasunod na number. Pag gagamitin ko yung naka-black, ang next ko na substituent nasa carbon number 5. Pero pag ang gagamitin ko itong naka-violet, the next substituent will be on carbon number 4. So, ano gagamitin ko? Siyempre, yung naka-violet. Dagan kayo kung i-consider ha, pag naga-name ta, ay, napilog ka delete. Ulitin na ako na siya, be. Napilog ka erase. So, anong ang violet ang akong gamiton? Ulitin ako kasi pareha silang carbon number 3 ang unang substituent. Pero the next substituent, pag naka-violet, pag mag-start ako here at carbon number 1, is nasa carbon number 4. Compared kung dito ako magsa-start, the next substituent class is nasa carbon number 5 pa. So, ito talaga yung tamang assignment. Okay? So, alphabetical. Ethyl muna. Asan si ethyl nakalagay? Carbon number 4. So, this is 4-ethyl. And then, I have 2-methyl. So, I'll be using dimethyl here. The alphabetical naming is the name talaga ni, ni substituent. It doesn't matter kung gagamit ka ng prefix. Hindi kasali si prefix sa pag-alphabetical. So, mauuna pa rin si ethyl class. So, idudugtong ko si dimethyl pero let me check first the number ng carbon na naka-attach sila. Siyempre, number 3 and number 6. And kulang akong space. Let me delete the octane. And then 3,6 dash dimethyl. And then octane. So this is the correct name of this compound. Ang uban nalibog na. Yung mas near po ba ang 1? Yeah, yung mas near ang location ng substituent, yun yung magiging carbon number 1 mo. Now, kung nag-count ka at on both ends, parehas yung first substituent, parehas silang at carbon number 3, isusunod mo yung next na substituent. Kasi kanina, if this is my carbon number 1, the next substituent after carbon number 3 is carbon number 5. Pero dito sa sinunod natin, class, the next substituent after this one, after carbon number 3, is nasa carbon number 4. So, siya yung may pinakamalapit na location of the substituent. So, siya yung carbon number 1. Saan galing ang 6? Ito, 3, 6. Ito yan siya. This methyl here. This substituent here is bonded to carbon number 6. Kaya siya 3, 6. Ito namang 3, galing ito dito. This substituent here is bonded to carbon number 3 on the parent chain. Parent chain ha, yung lalagyan natin ng number. Okay? So, ang location daw ni methyl, yung isang methyl nasa carbon number 3, yung isang methyl nasa carbon number 6. So, kaya siya 3,6 dimethyl. And then, itong ethyl naman nasa carbon number 4. Ito yung bonding niya, nasa carbon number 4. Questions? Let me see. Kinsay nakatama ba sa pinakaunang pasa? 4-ethyl 3,6 dimethyl. Uy, nasubraan. 4-ethyl. Okay, tama si Kiana. 4-ethyl 3,6 dimethyl. Si Judel also is correct. Silang duha tama. Okay. So sa submission, ang tama si Kiana ug si Judel. So let's have another example. Kasi wala man po ko nag-expect nga kuha ninyo siya on the first try. Kasi this is a bit complicated. Especially if wala yun ninyo siya giagian tong high school. So medyo lisod-lisod ang life.
Wala din naagihan, ma'am.
So, wala ninyo nag-agihan tong high school. Why? Why, oh why? Pero you have your general chemistry on high school. So I think ang in-org, dili po siya ing ato ka, lisod. Ang org chem na lang. Sige, ang org chem kay madugo gyud ni siya nga chem. So ato siyang hinay-hinayon. Kadjot kay maghuna-huna ako sa hydro. Paano kung sa 6 carbon naka-attach? Let me give you this example, Jodel. Dalata. Sagan na ba example, Ana? Para ma-answer na yung mukhang question. Kane. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. This one. Ay, sorry, nakalimut ko. Okay. We try this. Let's see later. Ano pa din siya? I-apply na to ang pangutanan ni Jodel. Now, what if both the methyl is attached to the same carbon? Kamusta? And then, next. Apply ninyo ang rules. This will be the last one pala. Then we will continue tomorrow. 11:55 naman di ay. One minute. Listen. Question mark, Cristel. May nabog ka sigurado? Sige, time na. Okay, sige. Let's answer. Okay, wala na day time. To continue lang ta tomorrow sa more examples. Libog ang numbering. Okay. First step, let's identify first the parent chain, the longest chain. If I start here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 5. But if I go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. 7. Kung baliktad, parehas lang na siya 7. Kung 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sa taas, 7 gihapon. 7 gihapon diri. Okay, so definitely 7. The parent chain here is 7. So 7 carbon, the prefix is hep. And single bond silang lahat. So ane. So we have heptane. Okay? So tanawon na to, be. So I will consider this. Let me delete first ha. Yung mga sinulat ko. So my parent chain is a 7 chain. I'll just choose this one. This one is the parent chain here. And then, what are the things na hindi na-include? Lahat sila methyl.
Methyl.
Yeah. So lahat sila methyl. Methyl yan lahat, hindi ko na isusulat kasi parehas sila. Now, assign the numbers. Where should we start? If I start here at carbon number 2, I already have the substituent. Pero if I do the reverse, if this is my carbon number 1, I'll have the substituent at carbon number 4 pa. So that is not already correct. Hindi na yan siya tama kasi malayo yung kanyang substituent. Ito talaga yung carbon number 1 natin. Para at carbon number 2, meron na tayong substituent. Now, since parehas sila, wala tayong i-arrange dito alphabetically kasi parehas sila lahat methyl. Okay? Parehas sila lahat methyl. Isusulat ko yan dyan, methyl. And what is nga our prefix pag tatlo sila?
Try.
Try. Okay. Basta nagasulat o pangalan sa organic compounds class, pabaliktad atong sulat. So heptane, tapos methyl sila lahat, tatlo. And then yung numbers na lang ang kulang dito. So ano nga yung numbers? We have at carbon number 2 and carbon number 4. Pero ganito class, kasi yung iba kulang. Tatlong numbers din ang kailangan yung isulat dyan. Again, bakit tatlo? Kasi tatlong methyl. The first methyl is found at carbon number 2, this one. The other methyl is also found at carbon number 2, so you also have to write another 2. Okay? And then the last methyl is found on carbon number 4. So this is now the correct name of this example. 2,2,4 trimethyl heptane. Okay? Questions? Asa mo dapit na libog before ta mag-end? Tama naman yung iba. Number
Sa branches ng number 2, ma.
Okay. Yung iba
Libog
kasi,
sa branch, ma'am.
yung iba kasi tama yung trimethyl ninyo, pero nakalimutan nyo yung isang number 2. Kapag kailan yung class substituent, magkapare-pareha sila, kung tatlo yan, try ang ginamit nyo, dapat tatlo din yung number nyo. So, kailangan i-attach nyo din, isama nyo yung isang number kahit magkaparehas pa sila. So, 224. So, tama si Ira. Sino pa? 224. Si Rosemary. It's si Angeli. And si Ivan. Yan, Nicole. Okay, marami naman nakatama. Si Genial, tama din. Si Kiana. Okay? So, ito yung answer sa question mo, Judel, kanina. If ever the substituent, parehas sila na substituent and they are connected to the same carbon. You just have to identify that both of them is connected sa parehas na carbon. Kaya 2, 2. And since meron pa tayong isa, so we have 4 and then we will use the prefix tri. Okay? So, that's it muna for this morning. Ay, dili gyud siya lalim.